Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Gaze 101. I'm also called Doctor of Ghetto. I know I'm supposed to be not necessarily simulcasting politics videos on both YouTube and BitChute, mainly BitChute. But this time I gotta say something about this matter with the Burgerkrieg of YouTube that I did back last year. And he's telling some good points about this revolution video he recently uploaded. It says Revolution makes us complacent. It was uploaded September 7th, 2020. Right now it's September 14th, 2020 on my recording. Now, I'm not a big expert or an official maker or an official written in stone type of profession that talks about history and how revolutions are formed in that from the history of sorts. And I'm not trying to say that I wanted a literal violent revolution personally myself. However, though, revolution does involve some form of violence to the Burgerkrieg, and guys will listen to this from his side of the situation. Now, the reason why we as revolutionaries, or at least some of us, I would say, are like to be complacent or waiting for that big thing to happen, because we put some form of effort into making that happen. And I can tell, based upon my work that I've done over the last 10 years, at least since 2008, being an advocate. And I'm not really an activist per se. I'm more like, advocate, donating to Campaign for Liberty, donating to, St. Jude's Children, or other political candidates like that of that lady from the 2010 election or 2018 elections, I believe. I forgot her name, but she was going against Harry Reid at the time. So these people who are doing the work but need money, we give them the money to supply for their uses to take over the system, or in a electoral sense, not in a violent sense. And we haven't gone to that point yet of having a violent revolution. And I will admit that I fantasize about revolutions to some extent because I've read about them, whether it's about the Pullman strike back in the 1890s, 1900s, during the Progressive Era, or perhaps Alexander the Great with his trying to take over the Persians back in BC times. Then we got the Roman Empire. Then we got the Mesopotamian civilization back there in the BC times before Romans came to be. That type of stuff. So I glanced here and there. I also read up on American history, American flags, American birds, or I should say the state birds. It's that type of stuff. So whatever I can remember back, when I was a kid reading all this stuff. And thank goodness for people in my life that encouraged me to do so. My family, maybe like a couple of teachers that from that back then. So this is not. I say I'm putting myself in and put this directly into my matter, but that's how I see it from my perspective. And revolutions, they will never happen to some extent if it's violent. But when it does turn to violence, then we know for a fact that it's going to be some great changes from that matter. Now, we can push, spread, change the system through that matters in order to talk about the problem. That'll be the first step towards changing certain things. That's why there are so many people, or at least on my end, from what I gather, who I network with, they want change as well. And we have our own personal problems with the government or personal situations in our lives that takes over that matter sometimes. But there are other people who actually have more resources, or at least have the ability to have more resources to make things happen. That's the problem with the revolution, from the small guy to the corrupt, rich governmental system, because we don't have the resources to maintain that violent revolution. Usually violent revolutions last for a few days to a few weeks, if it ever be, like the Kiev corruption back in with Russia and Kiev and things that matter. So with Ukraine back in 2014. So we saw the action of that, and that lasted for a few weeks, and then the person that's supposed to change things, he wasn't there anymore, and now they got a new government in there and just do the same shit over and over. Excuse my language. And yeah, I think we have to see that revolutions can be controlled at any given time after a while of it put out there. And we have all these conveniences. That's why we don't want to sacrifice an actual revolution, because it'll cause the great loss of many things. You know, go recording this video or go on the internet and play video games, things that matter. And we as a nation, or at least here in the United States, Burgerkrieg and friends, that we still have that that complacency to just have a good time. And so we're all to have a good time. But you know what's funny? Burgerkrieg, another example. I tried to do this campaign for Hulk Hogan. He's a wrestler here in the United States, and he lives in Florida. He was a big wrestler back during the 1980s and 90s. And Gawker.com, they exposed him for saying the N-word on some recording while having a sex party or sex tape or whatever the fuck it's called. That's what Gawker was trying to spread his rumors and problems all over the place, and look what happened to them. They're out of business because of that. So we and a friend or two, or at least I try to get a couple of friends to could get together. How can we encourage awareness that Hulk Hogan can say what he wants to say in his house? It's freedom of speech that counts, not about racism. I don't care if Hulk Hogan doesn't like me as a black person, but I like him as a wrestler and as some sort of social leader in the wrestling industry to bring awareness to good health and good athletic abilities, things like that. I actually wanted to be like him at one point when I saw him in the WCW while I was growing up on the television. So, you know, that type of example. And people think I'm thinking about starting some revolution. And I'm like, that's nothing like a revolution. That's just a simple campaign to, what? Tell people not to watch WWE for a year until they bring like Hulk Hogan into the Hall of Fame. That situation, they took him off the Hall of Fame. They took him off of everything off of that's WWE related. Like it's like taking Hitler out had the World War II history books. That's impossible right there. So they reinitiated Hogan back as of like earlier this year, late last year, telling people that, oh, he's back in the Hall of Fame and things that matter, WWE. So, and Hulk Hogan is partially right. You know, it's all about free speech. I don't like the fact that I have to make an effort with people or pull teeth with people to make something happen. You know, obviously I gotta do that myself in order to show by example, right? I should go out there and mass shoot a politician or 50 or, you know, in an airport, no Russian style shit, or do a economic hacking of sorts in the government or the Wall Street New York Stock Exchange or some shit like that if I'm a hacker. And put those two together, it could be actual overall economic and political format as well of a revolution. Having lots of hackers working together, taking down the economic system, you know, and build up a new economic system. And that takes hard work to coordinate all that shit. And who wants to really do all of that? And that's the fucking problem right there. We will never have this grandioso revolution or this huge power shift between the small and the big and the big to the small powers that be. You know, that's not going to happen in a lengthy, big, extravaganza type of way. Oh, sure, it gradually changes. Things change every day, every hour, every month, every year. But I don't see that with the people who are saying that they want change but don't want to make it happen. They don't want to donate. They don't want to email their customer department or whatever the fuck it's called for companies. Small stuff like that. You don't have to actually have a weapon in your hand to start shooting the government or some corporation entity or whatever, whether it's a leader or just the company itself or with a building or whatever. But you can email, you can share, you can comment, you can subscribe to on YouTube, Facebook, MySpace at one point. I mean, most of these people, I'm not sure what about you guys personally with Burgerkrieg and the rest of you guys, but people out here as the general populace of the United States, we're not into doing all that stuff to make things happen. I hear a lot of gamers in general just speak, complaining, oh, Anthem sucks this and Xbox Live sucks that and stuff like that. And it's like, you guys don't do nothing to raise the problem. And they said, oh, people already talked about it. How do you know what's the fact? Did you check the forums? Did you check the lists of media inquiries that were given or provided to the media entity? Have they reported the news about the matter being 100,000 people reported the Xbox should change, whatever? That type of stuff is an example of a revolution of sorts, or whatever you want to call it, right? You know, that's so small stuff makes big things happen. And that's what I'm just seeing for the years, what I've been doing. I've been encouraging people, showing enthusiasm, telling people, like, hey, this is what you can do. Now, as far as you want to start a war or an actual civil war, whatever you want to call it, you know, how's that going to work? We're too, like I said, we're too complacent, like Burgerkrieg was saying. But I think it has to come to some point that we have to sacrifice, and or as a collective, as a United States populace, to give up, but intention or not, something to gain in return of that giving up. And that's not going to happen until, as a collective, we see that. And and gradually, the New World Order agenda has been implemented since 1990s. We also had the Illuminati back, how many years ago? Decades, centuries, maybe. You know, they've been planning this out for centuries. You know, depends on what family you're referring to, though. The England family, or the Rockefellers, or even the Carnegie, or whoever these big tech, big oil, big corporate entities are. So, all right, guys, just keep my words in mind, Burgerkrieg. Keep me in mind of what I'm saying to you guys. I'm not Mr. Know-It-All. I'm not saying have all the answers, but I do know one thing, sir. I did some kind of effort to change certain things in my life that helped change with others as well. So it's not like just some, actual revolution where you look at with guns and ammo and planes and bombs and nuclear warfare and stuff like that, but it's more just peace, quiet, calm, discussion, reading, studying, that type of stuff. So, and the more people study and read and broadcast their thoughts out there, and to send out letters or send out some sort of form of communication to these leaders, then they'll be changed over time. Not in a great short period of time, but over time. And that's what I've been doing. I did whatever I could do. I could donate whatever I could donate. If you could do the same towards me, if you would donate to my Patreon or to my PayPal, or could donate to Campaign for Liberty, or donate to the Cato Institute, those type of political organizations, or to the needy and hungry, like NoKidsAreHungry.com, or No Kids Are Hungry on Twitter, I think it was. I've got the exact organization, but it says No Kids Are Hungry. But, St. Jude's and Red Cross, Tuesday's Children, the more we donate, the more we contribute, the more we share. That's what communism really is, about sharing, the better, right? But even with communism, it has faults of its own in the long term, because it has to be shared by everyone all the time, every time. And really, who really wants to do that all the time? That to work their ass off for 60 hours and only get $100 a week from this communist type of system. So that's my take, guys. Please thumbs up, subscribe, and share. Donate to my Patreon, Dr. Gaze101. I'll be doing a recording sometime later this week for more of a Medal of Honor. I did trial number 1 because I was dying every time up against those bazooka guys. So that's going to be crazy to pass by them. I still have to go through the second level of the 6th mission to go through the bazooka on the bridge. That's even the hardest part of all. So, alright, guys. See you later. Bye.